And while you were out, Avalon, I was explaining to TAC, I want to revisit some of the questions that he previously did. I just want to follow up. And now some of them, unfortunately, and I apologize in advance that if Julie asked you these, please bear with me. And
It's okay, no problem.
so,
I can't remember anyway. What she asked me.
okay, this is part 2, interview Takashi Oki, July 15th. Starting time is 9:10 a.m. TAC, you said in the previous interview that you spoke Japanese at home.
That was when my parents were, living.
When you were very, very young.
Yeah.
During that time, did your parents ever discuss Japan with you? Did they talk about how it was then, or?
Not really. I can't remember. I mean, they might have, but I really can't remember. That's
Okay.
60, 70,
Okay.
80 years ago. Yeah, about 80 years ago. I'm 88 this year. So.
Okay. Well, based on that, and you might be taking a guess right now, but that's quite all right. Do you get the impression that your parents have any sense of loyalty to Japan before the war, or maybe no feelings at all, or they were more pro-American than anything else? Do you remember?
Well, they were more dedicated to Japan, Because I remember when the war ended that he couldn't believe that Japan lost.
And what do you remember? How was that expressed to you or conveyed to you by your parents that they were dedicated to Japan?
Well, I mean, he didn't talk about it to me, but talking, to my mom, that he was. I still remember that he just couldn't believe that Japan had lost.
So do you think that they were more surprised, or were they devastated, or?
See, I guess they were more surprised, I guess.
And so at that time too, when you heard your parents talking about that, what were you feeling? I mean, what did you? I know you were about 14 years old. What position did you take? Did you think about being an American or Japanese, or maybe none of the above?
I really didn't think too much about it. But when I did go to camp, I thought I'm going to be there forever. I really did. I thought that this is it. I mean, we're going to be here forever. But I'm only, 14 years old.
Right.
So.
But 14 is still old enough to begin to understand things. So, to follow up on that, when you were in camp, now you had used the word incarcerated in the previous interview, and did you feel that you were incarcerated? Did you understand why you, your parents, and everybody else were in the camp?
Yeah, well, they only gave us 2 weeks notice, We were farming at that time. I don't know if I've told you or not before. But we had crops, we had equipment. We had, people around knew that we were going to leave. So they knew that they were going to get sooner or later. If they get it now, they're going to get it, at least they're going to get it real cheap, right? But if they waited too long, then someone else might get it. So at least, we hardly got anything for the crop. We didn't get, actually, we didn't get anything for the crop. We did sell a little bit of the equipment that we had, but, I'd never forgive them for that. I'll always remember that. And if the government ever tells me I cheated or whatever on my income tax, I'll say, well, that's for, cheating me and my family, you know, putting us in camp like that.
Right.
And they had no reason to put us in. They never found anybody doing anything bad, you know. But they threw us in camp anyway. They give us 2 weeks. Can you believe that? All we had to do, all we could do was carry a suitcase. That's it. What we could wear, and then, you know, whatever we could put in our suitcase. I don't know if we had one or two or whatever. But everything we had to leave. Everything. Had to leave my favorite dog. I still remember, you know, I called him Jack, you know. It's a police dog. I always remember. I sure hated to leave her, but it took everything. You know, we had to leave everything there. And I'll never forgive them for that.
Speaking of forgiveness, Tag, what did you feel when President Reagan, many years later, signed the redress and made some compensation for...
Yeah, but they should have given that when we first came out of camp. $20,000, you know what that buys? A car. At that time. You know, that you're talking about, what, 88 and 90 or whatever we got, you know.
So you feel it was not adequate?
Oh, they should have given it to us at that time, when we first came out of camp. What good is it? My father, he's what? When we came out of camp, I don't know if I told you guys or not, he must have been 50 or whatever, 60 or something. And I was about 18 when I came out of camp. And we had to go pick lemons. You ever pick lemons on a tree? You had to put a ladder up there, hang a bag on your back. You fill that up, dump it in a box, climb back up there, and then they paid you for how many, boxes you had for the day. I mean, that was tough.
So
they should have given us that money when we first came back out of camp. That didn't do us any good. I mean, it helped, but I mean, it didn't help us any. I mean, we couldn't go out and start farming again. All that was good for was to buy a car, or you can't buy a house. You can't buy a house for $20,000.
So the apology that President Reagan issued when he signed the redress, do you feel that was adequate?
Well, that's better than nothing. But like I said, told you 10 times already that they should have paid us when we got out of camp. When we came out of camp, I don't know if I told you guys, but okay, they set up all these churches and Buddhist, put them over there, whoever, when they closed the camp, we had to go someplace. We didn't have no place to go, so they put us in a camp over there by Lockheed,
Right there.
on Hollywood Way there. They call it Bob Hope or whatever it is now, but we were right next to it. And what they were doing during the war, they were rebuilding engines, for the airplanes, the bombers. And when the war ended, they closed that camp. There were people that was working there, trailer camps. They put us in there. I was there for another 2 or 3 years until they closed that, and then we rented a house over there in L.A. That was about in '47. So I was incarcerated for about 7 years. Because we didn't have any place to go. We didn't have no money.
But were you forced to stay there?
Well, we didn't have any place to go. We didn't want to stay there. You know what that room was like? It's not like those big trailers they have now. It must have been about this size. We didn't have no indoor, bathroom or anything. Middle of the night, you had to go bathroom. You had to go to the bathroom. It's about, I don't know, maybe 50 yards to the,
Right.
they had what do you call it? Just a laundry room and for laundry room, and you cooked in the in the trailer, but for yourself. But you had to do everything.
How many people shared that same?
Four.
Four. And they weren't related to you?
My parents.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, your parents.
Yeah.
Did your parents ever discuss, complain about the conditions that you were in at that time?
I can't remember. They probably did. It's, what can you do in it? It's just a little bit bigger than this. They had a bunk, and then I forgot. But it just didn't have enough room in there. Good for two people, But we didn't have any place to go, so we just stayed there until they closed that place too.
Tack, while you were in the camp up until the time you were eventually released, did you ever have any discussions with yourself or your friends? Now I realize you're just 14 years old. About whether you were American or whether you were Japanese or a combination of or anything like that? Did you feel closer to being a Japanese, or did you feel closer to being an American? Or
Well, I said more American than, Yeah.
did you understand at the time what it meant to be a citizen?
Well, I know I wasn't being treated as a citizen.
Okay, and if I may, and if you can recall, how did you know that?
Well, what am I doing in there? If I'm a citizen, I should be able to, go where I want to go. And they had powers there. And they had a guard there. We were right in the corner. They can't say that, they were protecting us. They had the gun, toward us. They didn't want us to crawl underneath the barbed wire to go fishing or whatever. Because there was no place for us to go. I mean, we didn't have no car or anything.
Tack, when you turned 17, you were still in the camp?
I graduated in camp. I was still almost 18.
Okay.
I graduated in camp.
And the war was still on?
No, it was over.
Oh,
It was over in August, wasn't it, or something?
that's right.
And then I think we left about October or something.
So did you ever consider joining the U.S. military?
You mean after the war? You mean after I turned 18?
Mm-hmm.
Geez, I don't know. I had to take care of my parents.
What did you think about those who came out of the camps and served with the 442nd Regimental Combat Team?
Well, they did, what they wanted to do. There was resistors. They said that you take my parents, let them out, then we'll go serve. There was, I don't know how many resistors there were in Hard Mountain.
I think you mentioned in your previous interview at the end that your brothers were
Yeah.
no boys, right? So they were part of the ones who actively.
Yeah. You've heard of Frank Amy, haven't you? He passed away, but I mean, he wasn't even, draft age or something. Well, I forgot what it was anyway. Like I said, my memory's bad. But he's the one that organized this group.
In Hard
He
Mountain?
didn't. Yeah, he didn't even have to go into the service because I think he was too old or whatever it was. I mean,
Right.
I forgot what. Like I said, my memory isn't that sharp. But I know that he didn't have to serve. But he's the one that made up this group, saying that it's not right.
And as you look back now, well, let me ask you. Let me change the question. at the time, your brothers were saying no to the questions that you yourself did not have to take that oath, correct?
No, I wasn't of age. I was 17.
Right. So, did your brothers discuss this with you or your parents?
No. I don't remember.
Okay.
They might have, but I don't remember.
So then, what happened to your brothers after they
They had to go to penitentiary,
Do you
Leavenworth or whatever, up in Washington, some places. What is that?
There's Leavenworth is there.
I forgot what penitentiary, but
Yeah.
a
And
bunch of them had to go there.
but were they also were they renunciants as well?
No.
No. So they never were sent back to Japan.
No. They
And-
said that they would serve if they would,
Right. Right. And I think that's important for people to understand that people did have these certain conditions that they felt were reasonable. Yeah.
They had other resistors in other camps too, but I think Heart Mountain had the biggest group. I think there's one camp. I think there was, I don't know how many resistors, but they didn't have to go to penitentiary. I forgot which camp it was, but I still remember that there was, I think, 1 or 2 resistors that didn't go.
After you left the camp, I want to jump in time here. You were employed by Gallo Wine as a
Salesman.
salesman.
Hmm.
How did you link up with Gallo Wine?
Well, at that time, there was a lot of retail stores that was run by a Japanese, and they needed a Japanese-speaking, salesman. So when I started, I had nothing but, Oriental,
Right, you-
Japanese,
right,
yeah.
right.
Mhm.
So you had a territory around.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And could you briefly describe what it is that you did for Gallo Wine as a...
Well, I would just go into the stores and service it, make sure that we had the #1 position and things like that.
And
And then we take the order, and then I'd send it. At that time, I think we were using mail. They didn't have all this computer crap around they have now. So it took a couple days before
Yeah.
they got the delivery.
Yeah.
But I'd take the order, and then they would deliver it as soon as they got the order.
Yeah. And so to summarize what you just said, many in your territory were Japanese
Yeah,
American markets, and they needed somebody that could speak Japanese. Okay. And at let's say at the most, how many of these individual
Stores?
stores?
Oh, I don't know. I must have had over 100 at one
Over
time.
100?
Yeah, at one time. I'm not too sure, but I had I had a lot of stores.
So what basically what was the area that you covered in? Was it just LA County?
Yeah,
Just-
LA. Yeah, LA County. Not Orange County, but LA. Yeah.
And you stayed with Gallo Wine for about 36 years?
36. Yeah.
Were there, you were employed because you spoke Japanese. Do you recall, were there any other Japanese Americans that were also working for Gallo Wine doing the
Well,
same thing?
let's see. Later on, they did.
Uh-huh.
We had quite a few. Well, I'd say 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Now it's completely changed. The Korean people, it's got a lot of stores, so now all the salespeople are Koreans, and
Right.
I don't think, I can't remember, maybe there might be 1 or 2 Japanese, and they might have 4 or 5 Korean people.
I want to follow up on something you just said because it's important, particularly in terms of history. There were these small mom and pop owned stores, Japanese Americans. Now, Tack, please describe as best you can what those stores were like and where they were located and their role in serving the Japanese American community.
Well, they weren't serving Japanese, you know. Their customers are not Japanese.
Who were they?
Well, they were located in the black areas and, you know, Latinos. Because the Japanese people were mostly in, you know, toward downtown area, you know, west side.
Would you happen to take have an opinion as to why those Japanese Americans were opening stores in those particular parts of town?
Well, they had to do something, you know, business.
Yeah.
And it didn't take a whole lot of money, but I mean, you know, it's because they're small stores. I mean, you can find them around here.
Right, one on every corner.
Yeah,
basically.
that's the kind of stores they run.
Yeah.
They weren't supermarkets. They did have one chain called the Johnson's Market. I don't know if Inadomi's. Have you ever heard of him?
Right.
Yeah. He passed away, you know, at a young age. But he had about three supermarkets.
Yeah.
But he had union workers, you know.
Right.
So later on, more and more independent stores, they non-union, huh? So hard to compete. So he finally closed up all his stores.
Yeah, Johnson's Market used to be the place where you got the best produce.
Yeah.
Up until this time, Jack, did you have any hobbies?
Hobbies. I can't think of. We used to play basketball and stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't think I had any hobbies.
What about your parents? Did they have any hobbies?
No, not really. All they did was work when we were on the farm.
Aside from speaking Japanese at home when you were growing up,
I can't speak it very well now because I don't ever speak Japanese anymore.
yeah,
I could carry on a conversation with, what do you call it, it's Japlish or whatever, Japanese, English. Half and half. You know, I can't think of a lot of those. You know, but when I was with my folks, you know, I could, you know, talk pretty good, but now I can't speak very well. I could carry on a conversation, but not very well.
Well, the reason why I asked about the hobbies is, as you look back now, is there anything distinctively Japanese that you've continued, aside from maybe the kinds of food you eat? Any traditions that you clearly follow since you were a child till now that are distinctively related to your Japanese ancestry?
No, I can't think of anything that
What about
more, you know, Americanized now. You know, the food and everything.
Okay. All right, changing. When did your parents pass away?
Well, let's see. I was at the cemetery the other day, took some flowers, so I was looking at it. My mother passed away in '88. She was 93, I think. And my dad passed away in '78, I think it was. He was 89
And where are they buried, Tack?
at Evergreen.
Evergreen. Let me ask you this. Why there?
Well, at that time, that's where they were, you know.
That's where he
Yeah,
put that.
yeah. I'm not going to go there. I already got a plot at Rose Hills, so there's probably no room there anyway, unless they stack it up, you know.
And so you just mentioned that you still visit the graves. Okay. When did you meet your wife? And where?
Let's see, that was, 19, it must have been about 1960. I might have met her at a bowling alley,
Which one? Which one?
at the Holiday Bowl,
Were you in a league?
Crenshaw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were in a league.
Yeah,
You were in a
we were
bowling
in
league.
a league, yeah. Yeah, we bowled for a long time.
Yeah.
That's history now.
Yeah, Holiday Bowl.
Well, all the bowling alleys are closed. Not all of them, but I mean, there's very few bowling alleys now. I don't know if you're not into bowling, you probably wouldn't recognize it. But guys that used to bowl, no place to bowl now, hardly. Yeah,
Yeah, unless you
their
go to
interests have
Las
changed. A lot of them are playing golf now. So
Vegas. Yeah, tell us about that time. How did you get into the bowling league?
how did we get into it? I don't know. We just got together and formed a team and got into a league. Yeah, we bowled it for a long time.
And you remember, whenever you went and bowled, did you wear a team shirt?
Oh yeah, we had to we didn't have to, but if you got a sponsor, they pay the sponsor, the entry fee,
Right.
which might be $100 or whatever it was,
Right.
and then they get us a shirt.
Right.
So
Yeah, it was.
we bowled there a long time.
Yeah, the big thing
Yeah,
back then.
that was a meeting place. Right.
So, you met your wife.
Yeah.
Wow. What was your team's name?
Well, we had a sponsor. I still remember Aki's Market, and let's see. We had different sponsors. I can't remember the others, but we had.
Were you a good bowler, Tack?
No. Just a average bowler, just having a lot of fun. We have beer frames and stuff like that,
Yeah.
If everybody gets a strike and there's one guy that didn't get the strike, he has to buy the beer.
I
That was fun.
see. So is that a lot of Japanese Americans who are
Yeah,
involved?
that's the Japanese league, yeah.
Oh, so it's all, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. After the interview, I'll tell you, that's when my wife and I also were in that league for a while.
Oh, yeah?
Wow.
But we were young. We were the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
youngest.
right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember that. Yeah. And when did you get married?
62, I think it was.
62. Where, Tack? Where did you get married?
We went to Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah, we went to Vegas to get married. Yeah. Cheaper. Don't have no money.
By the way, when you were growing up, were you or your family, did you participate in any the Buddhist churches or?
No. My folks did, they went to Koyasan.
Ah, okay. This was also after the war?
Before and after, yeah.
And you never followed suit?
No,
May I ask
We never-
why?
I don't know. Not interested, I guess. I go to church now, though, but
What kind of church, Tack?
I go to Evergreen.
Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how many children do you have?
I have 4.
4.
2 boys, 2 girls.
And they are approximately how old now?
Let's see, my youngest one, he must be about 48 to 53. We had him just, one